for the next week. My wife and I will be exploring Taiwan, starting here in Taipei. We've heard some good things about this place, so we'll see some of the highlights, but then later, well, there is no plan. So let's just see how this week unfolds. So day one, we actually arrived at 1 AM thanks to a very annoying delay in Bangkok. And so by the time we reached the hotel, which was lovely, we just decided to pop across the street to the nearest convenience store, grab some drinks, grab some late night dumplings, and just munch away before we go to bed. It had been one of those frustrating flights where, you know, just you're circling for ages and there's a delay at both ends, and by the time you get to your hotel, you just want to eat something and go to sleep. So not much of an exciting start on day one, but on day two, we decided to attack the morning. The first thing being, of course, is connecting to my eSIM. I just needed to check that my eSIM had installed successfully, which of course it had. If you've got a trip coming up, I've got a brand new code with a great new 20% discount for your next eSIM with Airalo. I've been using Airalo for years now. Every single trip I take, I always download and install an eSIM on Airalo's app. And for the next 48 hours after this video goes live, they have a flash sale where you can get 20% off any of your first eSIMs with Airalo. Just use my code Paddy at checkout. You can buy the eSIM now, get 20% off, and activate it way later when your trip actually comes around. No airport queues, no swapping SIM cards, and you can keep your old number. So download Airalo and use my code Paddy for 20% off for the next 48 hours. It then goes back to a normal discount in case you're watching this a few weeks or months later. Thanks to Airalo for sponsoring this adventure. Now let's get out there and see what Taiwan has to offer. Now obviously the Taipei 101 building is there right outside of our window, but if we went downstairs out of the hotel and across the street, we thought, well, let's go in and have a closer look. Now for context, you might think Taipei is one of Asia's mega cities, but actually compared to Bangkok where we live, it's much smaller, way more compact and far easier to get around on foot. Taipei has a population of 2.5 million compared to Bangkok's 11 million in the city. So it was a welcome break from the chaos that we're used to. Turns out that in the ground floor there's a huge mall inside the Taipei 101 building, and it is absolutely gorgeous, but it's completely empty. I've never seen a mall this quiet, and we were just, you know, this was about lunchtime as well. So we walked around and we were thinking, wow, Taiwan seems really chilled, really quiet and quite peaceful. Of course, it was a Tuesday. The malls are never this quiet in Bangkok, are they? This is beautiful, but it's so quiet. One floor up from the mall is the observatory entrance. You pay $600 to go in per person, and it takes you in a lift that shoots right to the top of the building in a few seconds, it feels like. And all of a sudden you're at the top with incredible views, or so they say. You see, the thing is, even though the view was beautiful and 360 of the entire city of Taipei and the distant mountains, the one issue, and this is the same issue we had the entire week we were in Taipei and Taiwan, as you'll see, was this crappy weather, this grey, dull, foggy summer haze. I wasn't sure if it was pollution or if it was just haze or fog or whatever it was, but the visibility was like this the entire week. And when things are grey and dull, it doesn't really inspire you with much excitement. It kind of makes you feel tired, it makes you feel lazy, it doesn't, you know, when you can't see the distant mountains, it doesn't make you want to go into them. If you can't see the distant city skyline, it doesn't fill you with much excitement. So me and Miss P at this point were feeling a bit low energy, and this beautiful view, but this crappy weather was kind of sucking the fun out of our first day properly exploring Taiwan. But it is still worth going up there, by the way, because of the incredible dampener. There's this huge ball, okay, and it weighs a ton. Well, it weighs several tons, actually. And what it does is it swings in the wind. So if the building is getting blown side to side in a tropical storm, or God forbid if there's an earthquake, this dampener ball actually moves left and right and forward, and it helps keep the building standing. So cool. Which is beautiful, in engineering and everything, and it looks great. But when I saw the video of the tourists standing there as the whole building was shaking during an earthquake, all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I think we should probably leave, because my legs went to jelly just at the thought of being that high during an earthquake. So yeah, that was the end of our experience up there. But still, honestly, definitely worth going up there. $600 per person, 20-ish dollars per person. You can't go to Taiwan without getting some dumplings, right? So that was our next port of call, and we went to one of the famous restaurants there, and we followed this little robot thing, and it sat us down, and we had some delicious dumplings. Now, this is a chain of restaurants that you actually have them in Thailand as well, where we live, but it was just nice to have them fresh here in Taipei. The theme of this trip, as you'll see, is whenever we're feeling down in the dumps, well, we cheer ourselves up with some good food, and that certainly did, after what was a kind of a uninspiring view from the top of the Taipei 101. We jumped in a cab and headed to a different part of the city, to the Memorial Square. This place is packed full of history and it's very visual, and yeah, it's just a nice place to come, walk around, learn some of the history and take pictures. This isn't my first trip to Taiwan, actually. I'm here with my wife, as you know, but about 5, maybe 7 years ago, long time ago, I came here with my good friend Damien. And I remember doing a little jump next to this gate for the opening sequence of a little documentary we made where we hitchhiked around the entire country of Taiwan. We did some hiking, some extreme stuff. It was so much fun. A very different trip to this one. This is a much more relaxed honeymoon style trip, to be honest, since we're newly married. But I'll link that adventure below because, yeah, we got really stuck in to the culture and the history of the entire country. Oh, and if you're coming from Thailand like we are, 1 Thai baht is 1 Taiwanese dollar, so it's exactly the same currency. So when you're buying things or getting into a taxi, it's a lot easier because our brains are wired for Thai baht. Now, this beautiful building is one of Taipei's most iconic landmarks. It's the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial. Inside is a huge statue of the former leader of the Republic of China. And after losing the Chinese Civil War, he retreated to Taiwan in 1949. And then he ruled here for decades. And the scale of the statue inside just reflects the power and influence that this man once held. Today, though, his legacy is a bit more complicated. For some, he's a nation builder, and for others, well, it's a bit more controversial. Let's just stay away from the politics and enjoy our time as a couple on a honeymoon, shall we? Now, in the evening, this is when Taipei comes alive because it is a bit dull and it is a bit grey, the city, during the day, especially with this weather. But at night is when the neon lights and the flavours and the smokes from the street vendors and everything seems to just get turned up from a about here energy to a little bit higher energy in the evening. So definitely explore Taipei at night. Okay, welcome to this area. Don't ask me to pronounce a word beginning with X, but it's not sleepy around here. It's really bright, colourful, loads of food. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty, seems fun.
One of our goals of coming to Taiwan was to relax, spend some quality time with each other, and also do some shopping. We've just bought an apartment in Bangkok, actually, and so we were looking things for the house, and you'll see later, we got some cool stuff, but I won't bore you with our shopping spree. But yeah, anyway, another cool part of Taiwan is the claw machines. It's like the national sport of Taiwan. You go in and you put a $10 coin in, and you can try and win some prizes. But if you ask me, I think it's a bit of a scam.
Swing back.
There's so much food in this area of the city, and you could be having stinky tofu, fried chicken, fried pork, loads of things, lots of fresh fruit as well. But we decided to go for the good old staple here in Taipei of bubble milk tea. This particular place was really popular, and it's because they actually make the boba handmade in front of you in the storefront. They have the guy hammering it and molding it and shaping it and cutting it, and then it gets blowtorched with some sugar And actually it wasn't too sweet, it was perfect. Me and Miss P were actually going to go get dinner after the bubble milk tea, but it was so full of milk and not that much ice that we were full. So we didn't get any dinner that night because we were like, oh, the bubble milk tea was delicious and it's filled us out.
Boba is nice. Not too sweet too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. Loads of milk. Not too sweet. Very fresh.
Sweet boba.
Thumbs up. We kept exploring and we went to the Longshan Temple. This place is beautiful. It's got loads of interesting history. Well, the locals do this really interesting thing where they take these half-moon shaped wooden pieces. They're in the temple, they're just in a little box, and you grab them. And what you do is you hold 2 of them and you ask the god a certain question. You can ask him 1 question, you can ask him 20 questions, it doesn't matter. And you ask him a question and then you roll them on the floor. And depending on how they land, it's the god telling you yes, no, or I don't know. And there were people there asking questions after questions after questions, and I think the theme of the questions is around your love life, your marriage, your relationship, or your future relationships, or maybe why you're not in a relationship. You can go there and ask the gods for advice by asking them questions, throwing these moon-shaped rocks on the ground and getting a response. And it was just a beautiful setting for this really interesting part of Taiwanese culture, probably the highlight of our trip so far. It's really beautiful and very interesting. The next morning it was time to leave Taipei and we were going to head in a taxi to Jiufen, a very popular little village in the mountains, about 45 minutes away in a taxi. You can take a bus, you can take a train, but for us lazy couples who just want to get from door to door, plus because Jiufen's quite hilly, we've got a big suitcase. We didn't want to drag it around sweating our bollocks off, but this is actually in the summer months that we went. We were filming this in April and it was randomly 30 degrees every day, so a bit of a heat wave, unfortunately. So we didn't want to rush around Jiufen looking for a hotel, going up and down these hills and stairs. So a taxi just made more sense. We got to our hotel, which was really lovely, and thankfully we were allowed to check in early. The room was really cool, loads of space, but the reason I booked this particular room is because of the view out to Jiufen and the coastline and the different towns and cities along the coast of the north of Taiwan. However, as you can see, the weather was still following us again. It was hazy and foggy and smoggy and just, you couldn't really see much of the views. Now, I'll drop in a little video here or a clip or whatever of what it actually normally looks like. I remember going there years ago with my mate Damien and we had such a great time. We went hiking and we were so inspired by the nature and the outdoors area around Jiufen. But this time it was just a bit dull and dreary, so we decided to go down and explore the town. So we're really impressed with this B&B. Beautiful room, beautiful view, and it's really nice and quiet up here. Flowers, ginger cat that calls this place home. We are going to actually venture down into Jiufen, where we're expecting it to be very busy and a bit chaotic, but we do have a plan. But the first thing we have to do is dip our toes in. Thanks for carrying the suitcase, by the way. I was busy filming. Now, Jiufen Walking Street it's cool, okay, but there's a couple of things you need to know. The first is, we kind of felt like it was just one long gift shop. It was just like one shop after another, selling stuff. Some of the stuff we bought because it was cool, lots of food, but it is like a walking gift shop experience. You just walk through these old cobble streets, these old buildings, but only one of those buildings actually has any decent amount of history. There's this beautiful temple, which we kind of walked through. That was interesting. There's this really famous lantern building, but it's just packed full of tourists and tour groups trying to take pictures. I think it was in a famous movie or something, so that was a bit naff. But inside the main walking street, there's a little old tea shop, and it's 100 years old, and it was really cinematic, really beautiful. The staff were really friendly, and we were able to sit there and enjoy some of the artwork, and you can book to have a tea tasting experience, and that's probably the only thing worth doing in Jiufen other than walking along the gift shop street, getting crowded and packed together like sardines. Jiufen was a bit of a letdown this time, unfortunately. So there was only one thing to do in that situation when we were feeling a bit underwhelmed, was go cheer ourselves up with some food, and that's what we did. We found this delicious beef noodle soup joint, handmade noodles, delicious beef brisket and chunks of tendons and ligaments and all kinds of beef goodies in a really nice broth, and that really perked us back up again. We went back to the main temple area to see if we could take some nice pictures or something away from the crowds, but it was still really busy. But at least at twilight, when the lanterns turned on, it looked really beautiful. And at this point we decided to just get away from all the crowds. We found this little beer bar joint, and we, to be fair, had some nice food overlooking the view. You know, no epic sunset because the sunset was setting behind the thick haze, this consistent haze. That was kind of getting on my tits because I really wanted to show off how beautiful Taiwan is, because it is beautiful, the nature is incredible, but this particular week we were just stuck in this grey, melancholy surroundings. But after a few beers and just exploring around at night, where Jiufen is definitely more cinematic, more interesting at night, and once all the tour guides and tour buses had gone and it was relatively quiet, we actually enjoyed walking around Jiufen at night. So definitely stay over because you can avoid the crowds after 7 or 8 p.m. There's my travel tip for you for Jiufen. Book the tea house experience and then hide because it's packed until later. Bye-bye, Jiufen. So at this point of the trip was when we didn't have any plans. We like to book a couple of nights when we first land somewhere. So Taipei and Jiufen were already pre-booked, but then we thought, well, let's just see what happens. Let's react to what we're feeling and what we're experiencing. And so far, we were like, let's get out of Jiufen. So we jumped in a taxi and went to the nearest city called Keelung. Now, our friends Flora and Note, other travel content creators, they told us Keelung was a really cool coastal town with quite a few things to see and do. But our first impressions weren't great. As soon as we got down there, we walked around and we tried to give it a go, but I don't know, it just felt run down. It felt like it was, I don't know, it just wasn't that interesting of a place. And we walked around like thinking, do we stay here a night? Do we not? So we had a little bit of research and we decided to have a bubble milk tea and make a plan. So the plan was, let's stay here a night and give the night market a try, because we'd heard that the night market here was brilliant. We actually, off camera, went to Shishiro, one of our favourite sushi restaurants, chains around the world. Shishiro, right? You can't go wrong with Shishiro. Turns out you can in Keelung, because the salmon was mushy and small, and we had a few plates there, and we were like, my God, why don't we vibe with this little town? We'd heard good things about this place, and so we were just like, let's just lick our wounds, go back to the hotel room and come back out again at night for the night market, which is exactly what we did. And we were so glad to come out for the night market because it was so beautiful, like really interesting, very visual, loads of different stalls, like hundreds of stalls, all of them busy, selling different things as well. We decided to go to this glutinous crab rice place. One of my subscribers recommended it to me on Instagram. I think I posted something like, Keelung's not that great, any advice? And someone said, go to this particular store, and thank you, because again, the delicious food brought us back to a state of enjoyment, because we'd be kind of a bit like melancholy during the day, and this soup, this fried rice, it was so flavorful, it was, you know, is exactly what we needed. So it snapped us back out of our little slump, and the night market was fantastic and 100% worth it if you're in the area. Stay a night, and then next day you can leave. There's not much to do in this town. There is a few things like on the coast, but it was with the weather. We just thought, what's the point? There's going to be no views. There's going to be no pictures to be taken. We licked our wounds and we decided to head back to Taipei. Not before we had some delicious dumplings for breakfast. Oh my gosh, this place was incredible. They handmade these dumplings, stuffed them with this pork and, you know, chives and, you know, Asian things. I'm not quite sure what was in it, but it was delicious. They steamed them and then they fried them on one side, and they had this delicious orange chili sauce, and it was incredible. Honestly, one of the best things I've eaten in Taiwan for sure was these dumplings. Of course, everywhere that we go in this video, I will put in the description below. Let's move from this position. I've come around. I quite like Keelung now. So a good night's sleep, a fun night market, some delicious food, and we've just had the most amazing breakfast. We just went to this little dumpling spot. Have you turned around? Do you like Keelung now? Should we move here?
No, you shouldn't move here.
Okay. But you like the dumplings though, right?
Yeah, I do love the dumplings.
I don't think she's sold on it yet, but that's fine. I'll try and win her over time. So this time we decided to try the train. It's a lot cheaper, and we got the local train. It took about an hour and a half to get to Taipei. We just thought going back to Taipei at this point would give us 2 or 3 more nights in the capital city, more chances of good food, more chances of things to do. We didn't have enough time to hit like Hualien on the east coast or go south. We only had a window of a week, and at this point we were just enjoying our company. We were enjoying hanging out, playing games, just, you know, we were on our honeymoon basically. So we were just chilling out and enjoying ourselves, but you know, we also wanted to have a good trip. So we were like, let's give Taipei another go. Let's see what else we can see. This is the capital after all. If we can't have a good time here, then we'll not have a good time anywhere. And to be fair, that's what we did. We did a lot more shopping off camera, and we did eat some more delicious beef noodles. We found this Michelin rated place. Thanks again to the person who recommended this on Instagram, because it was in the basement of some random mall. But when we went in, it was just like the best food we had on that trip. Again, handmade noodles, delicious soft beef brisket in a spicy sauce. Mrs. P had the dry noodles, I had the one with the soup. We had some more extra dumplings as well. It was fantastic, so affordable. That was just what we needed, because you know, shopping is kind of like whatever, right? You just walk into a shop and you look and you go, oh, that's nice, and you buy a new pair of shoes, or you buy something for the house, or a picture, or, you know, a little light, things that we just needed for our new home. But yeah, to be fair, the next couple of days, like, I didn't film hardly anything because I was just looking for something to film that was interesting and worth putting in a YouTube video about our 7 days in Taiwan. I did find this delicious pancake place, and this guy had this fluffy puff pastry, kind of like a roti bread pastry, and he filled it with savory eggs and pad kapow, and I was like, I've got to have one of them. We also got a spicy chicken, and it tasted amazing. Unfortunately, it kind of gave me the shits for 3 days. So for the rest of our time in Taiwan, whenever we weren't shopping or relaxing at the hotel, I was on the toilet. So there's a little bit of graphic information you didn't ask for, but this is just a small thing, but it did compound with the bad weather and, you know, the lack of things to do that kind of brought the excitement of this trip down a few notches, hence why I didn't really film that much, hence why I'm trying to tell you how I felt now after the fact when I'm back home, because we're just happy to be back in Bangkok, to be honest. The overall feeling that I can portray through this video, we had a good time. Because we were together, we got to hang out with each other and spend some quality time. Turns out when you get married and all your family come to visit you to the other side of the world, you have lots of engagements, you have lots of dinners, you have lots of trips away, you have lots of time spent with your friends and family. And it was like 3 weeks of non-stop meetings and events and dinners and things, and it was so much fun to see everyone, but it was exhausting, especially to my wife. She's an introverted person and she has a social battery that was literally on empty, so she was nearly having a nervous breakdown. So this trip really was just what we needed, where we didn't have to do much, and Taiwan didn't really give us that much to do anyway. The weather sucked and that drew it down a bit, but there's nothing you can do. So what we decided to do was just enjoy our company. So we did have a good week. I do recommend Taiwan, but it's not going to blow you away. If it's your first time to Asia, you might think Asia's a bit boring, because I don't know, there's more interesting cities, like in Korea, in Japan, you know, Bangkok, you know, Kuala Lumpur. These cities I would recommend much more. Taiwan is the kind of place that you go when you're not really tracing trends, you're not really tracing incredible excitement, things to do. Taiwan's the kind of place you go when you just want to have a bit of a reset, maybe get some work done, maybe spend some quality time with someone. The true beauty of Taiwan reveals itself in the mountains, and I've climbed some of the tallest peaks there with my friend Damien. As I've mentioned, I'll link that video below, but you know, my wife, she doesn't like hiking. She just wanted to hang out and go shopping and chill out with me, and that's what we did. That was our 7 days in Taiwan. I just thought I'd give you a little bit more context to not just where we went in what order, but how we were feeling at the time. I hope you appreciate this honest travel vlog of Taipei. Let me know in the comments if you're heading there soon. Check out the description with some of the best foods that I ate. I think that will increase your likelihood to have a good time. If the weather is better, you'll love it, I promise you. I think the weather was the main contributing factor to why we kind of give it an overall score of 7 out of 10 in terms of fun. You know, I think next year when we escape Songkran, because another piece of context, we always leave Thailand during Songkran. It's hot, it's packed, it's busy, there's people fighting, and it's not really the best place to be. And you know, we've gone to Scotland, we've gone to Korea, we've gone to Japan, we've gone to Europe, and this year we tried to give Taiwan a go, but I don't think next year we'll come back to Taiwan. I think instead we'll probably go to Japan. The moral of the story is, you know, not everywhere you go is going to be a banger. Sometimes you'll go somewhere and not really enjoy it that much. Sometimes you'll go somewhere and the weather will suck. Sometimes you'll go somewhere and you'll get sick. If you are from Taipei or Taiwan, thank you for hosting us. We did actually really enjoy our time together in the country, in your beautiful island nation. And I think next time I'll come back on my own and maybe cycle around the country. That looks so much fun and adventurous. And that's where the true beauty of Taiwan comes alive, as I've mentioned. But anyway, that was our 7 days in Taiwan. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button, and don't forget to use the code below to unlock 20% off with Airalo. That is a 2-day window, so you've got to do it now. Buy it now and keep it, and you can activate it later. If not, that code will still give you a decent discount if you've never used Airalo before. See you soon. Thanks for watching, and next episode we'll be back in Thailand.